Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. As always, it's your boy Mack. And today we have a Cavs seasonal spotlight, and that is on one Kevin Love, who has played some pretty impactful basketball this season. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. Kevin Love, the now 8 years in Cleveland. This season, he is averaging 11.1 points, 7.5 rebounds, 2 assists. He's shooting 41% from the field, a pretty good 35.9% from three-point range, and a very good 94.3% from the free throw line. And yes, this is just a 14-game sample size. So we have to take this with a grain of salt, as we do for most early season stat lines. But if he's able to convey that, throughout the whole season, that'll be big time for the Cavs, especially for a team that was hurting for bench play in the worst way last season. So he has been his resurrection, for lack of a better term, has been just astounding to see. I mean, you just never really truly knew what you were going to get out of Love heading into this season. He was saying all the right things throughout training camp. He has taken a step back, as he had alluded to. He had a conversation, I believe, with the Cavs brass, Kobe Altman and company, about what his role would be moving forward. And I think that transparency has allowed him to truly experience, a career resurrection for a guy who, we just never truly knew what we were going to get out of him. He was on a monumentous contract who will never be able to live up to it. He's contributing. He's being impactful. He's only playing 20.4 minutes per game this season, but he's really making the most out of him. He's got the highest offensive rating at 117 that he's had since the 2017-18 season. He's got the highest defensive rating at 102 that he's had since the 2015-2016 title season. That's big time. I mean, we don't talk a lot about his impact on the defensive side of things, just because Kevin Love is not known as an all-world defender. But coming off the bench in a smaller, reserve role, he's looking pretty good out there. And I think a lot of what that is that they're surrounding him with, pretty good defenders. Anytime you can include Kevin Love out there with the likes of Jared Allen or, Evan Mobley, who can supplement, some of those tougher defensive possessions that the Cavs may face on a nightly basis, I think you have a pretty good formula out there, especially with what Love can provide you with on offense as a spacer. And I think, that's really a big thing for him. So why has he truly been an impactful player this season? Well, my assumption for that is that he's essentially been given a clearly defined role, and he knows what the organization is expecting him to provide now. His role has essentially been streamlined to fit what the Cavs need. And like I said, that's offensive spacing, that's veteran leadership. He's by no means the offensive focal point anymore, and I believe that is contributing to him being a positive on the court this season. You just didn't. I cannot stress this enough. You just did not know what you are going to get out of Kevin Love this season. You always kind of hope for the best for him. For a guy, he's played 388 out of a possible 569 games over his course of time here. And it was always, you could always bet that Kevin Love would miss a pretty good amount of games. And he has this season. He's missed, I believe, 8 of the playable games of the payable 22 games this season, but that is not necessarily due to just injury. I think that was COVID protocols as well. And so you just never really know from a health standpoint what you're going to be able to get out of him. But, in order to maximize what he can, best bring to the table, I think giving him that shortened role, anywhere between 18 to 24 minutes a game, you can really maximize on what he can bring to the table in doing so. And so far, he has. I mean, just taking this into account, in his last 7 appearances since returning from said protocols, he's putting up solid averages: 12.4 points, 7.7 rebounds, and he's completing 45% of his 3-point attempts. That is 18 of 40 from that range. And so every now and then the guy can resemble the all-star caliber player that he once was, as was the case on Wednesday night's victory over the Miami Heat, in which he contributed a season high 22 points off the bench by going 6 of 8 from range. That does not happen too much anymore with Kevin Love. So he's more than capable of turning back the clock. He just doesn't, you don't see that too often. He was also playing some pretty inspired defense, which resulted in him nabbing 2 steals and garnering a block, which was pretty cool to see. I think that was on PJ Tucker. Don't quote me on that, but he was plus 29 in that game, which conversely was his highest total since November 20th of 2017. In a win over the Detroit Pistons, in which he went plus 30. That is insane. As I stated before, that was the last season in which he was an all-star. But to have that big a gap in between, that much impact in regards to counting stats anyways, that's a big deal. And I think that can really add to his confidence even more so this season. And I think for him, confidence, the Cavs winning games, health, all of these things will factor into just how impactful one Kevin Love can be. But with that being said, I honestly think that this is sustainable as long as the Cavs as a whole can remain semi-healthy. And we had the heartbreaking news of Colin Sexton, going down for the season due to surgery from the meniscus injury that he suffered against the New York Knicks earlier this season. But everybody else, while they have experienced some health issues of their own, pretty much damn near everybody in the rotation has missed some time. I think Darius Garland has missed 2 games. Jetty is starting to miss more and more. Evan had been out for 4 games. Jared Allen had missed at least 4 games. Kev, he missed 8 games. Really, everybody who is in the rotation, whether it's a starter or rotation member off the bench, everybody has missed some time. But as long as it's not happening on too consistent of a basis and everybody around them, are stepping up. And I think we are seeing a lot of that next man up mentality for this team. I think they can seriously make a move back up the Eastern Conference standings. Sitting here at 12-10 right now, I think that you could definitely make a case that this team has the capabilities to be able to go out there and compete with just about everybody in the NBA. I mean, like I said, at 12-10, this team is a team that started out with a very good record to begin the season before the Sexton injury. So you could definitely see the direction in which they were trending. But that injury just added insult to it all. And, guys just started going down left and right. And until recently, when Evan Mobley came back, you didn't know how quickly they would be able to return to form. But having a guy like Evan out there can really help keep Love fresh, especially not having to put him out there too often. So, just in regards to that, as long as this team can remain healthy, they're going to be able to go out there and win on a nightly basis. And Kevin Love is a big, big part of that. I don't necessarily think that he'll be able to, continuously put out season high performances like that, in which he did against Miami. And it should be noted that Miami was missing both Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, if I'm not mistaken. So you have to take that for what you will and take it with a grain of salt. But it was still a very encouraging sight for a player who, like I said, has only appeared in 388 of those possible 569 games. So you just got to feel pretty good for the direction that he's heading in this year. And I think another part of the success that he's had this season can be attributed to the addition of his former Minnesota Timberwolves teammate, Ricky Rubio, which has really just seemed to reinvigorate the aging veteran. Just the chemistry that they share. Rubio knows how to put him in good positions. He knows how Love operates. He knows the spots that Love loves to shoot from. It's just been a welcome addition. It's really, really been across the board. But in particular, I think he's had the biggest impact on Love's play. I mean, take this for what you will, but he actually has a higher plus minus with Ricky Rubio this season than he does with Darius Garland. So he's got that 41. He's plus 41 with Rubio and he's plus 40 with Darius. And some of that has to do with the minutes that are played between the two, and both of those two being primary bench players. Rubio, of course, is going to see more time with Kevin Love. But just the mere fact that the guy is plus 41 with Rubio, just it kind of seems like they've picked up where they left off in Minnesota. So that was a very good addition for this team. I think having another veteran voice in the locker room, somebody, like I said, who knows how to put Love in good positions, just has paid just huge dividends for this team, specifically Love. So I really, really hope that he can continue his inspired play. I really hope that the guy can stay healthy, because that's always going to be the biggest thing for him. And as long as he's out there being positive, not having a love outburst as he has had in the previous couple of seasons, I think that I'd be okay at this point. I said this on Twitter the other day. I think that I would be okay as long as he's playing the way that he is now. I would be okay if he retired a Cleveland Cavalier. I mean, he is part of the championship team. He did play a very big part, especially in that Game 7 victory, most notably on defense against Steph Curry. So I think that for him, the next step is just going to be, at least in my mind, is just going to be staying healthy. And I can't state that enough. I know I've said that a few times already, but that really is the key for him. Stay healthy and just keep hitting the threes. We know that he ain't going to go 6 of 8 from the field, from 3-point range every night. But anytime you get that from him, I mean, it just increases the nostalgia factor in regards to seeing old school Kevin Love out there. And no, that's not necessarily old school Kevin Love, because Kev, he was a banger and in the paint for many seasons until he dropped weight to come, when he came to Cleveland. But this new version of him that we're getting so far this season has just been a joy to watch. It's the same thing with essentially everybody across the board in Cleveland. Everybody just seems to know their role. Everybody seems to get along. You're not hearing any of the rumors that you were hearing last season from this team. Even with Colin going down, you're not hearing too much in that regard outside of the normal contractual things. But just to see this team heading in the direction that they're going in, I think all it can do is serve to continue to put Love in a position to be a positive contributor for the rest of the year. And that's all that there is to it. I really truly hope that he's able to consistently go out there and just add positives, add something, whether it be an additional coach's point of view on the floor, because Love at this point of his career has seen just about everything. It's the same thing with Rubio. I mean, those two sharing the court together, just a sight to see. And as you sit here, at the bottom of your screen, as you see these Love highlights, him splashing 3 after 3, it's been awesome, man. He has continuously showed me that no matter how old you are, you can still, especially in the NBA, I think hit him at 33, I believe. 33, 32 or 33, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not looking at it, but at his age, at his advanced age, as long as you can provide something in regards to spacing, I think that you will continue to be able, your game can age. That's why guys like Steph Curry, his game, guys like KD, those guys' games are going to age like fine wine, just because they can provide something. And I think that that's the biggest thing for him over the seasons, as he had dropped weight and, played a more perimeter style of game. All that can do is serve to add to your longevity on the court, because we all know that with the way that the NBA has become over the past few seasons, that you have to be able to space the floor for most players. We still every now and then get a more of a throwback type, somebody who's more of a lob threat, and that of Jared Allen, his archetype. But that only works if you truly have spacers around said player. If you have guys who can, have a bit of gravity, guys who can draw people outside of the paint so that they can operate very well. And now you can add Kevin Love to that list. He's a guy who has gravity as a spacer, somebody who can pull guys from the paint and can allow open lanes for the likes of Ricky Rubio and Darius Garland and Cleveland's other guards. So I can't speak enough positives about what he is able to bring on a night-to-night basis. So I'm not even going to attempt to. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and shut down today's episode. Like I always tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you can at It's Cavalier _pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc. Have a good day.